Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sacred Games Daily. We have some more news on the horizon for you. We want to share with you some fun stuff today. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Feel a little bit like icky and drained, I guess, from work and stuff, but feeling good. Feeling good.
Yeah, sometimes when I feel that way, I just go to sleep, and I'm just like, It's over. It's over till the next day.
I can't do naps, dude, because if I do naps, like, it'll fuck everything up.
I don't know if you can do sleep. I feel like, so we're on different time zones, but I feel like it's like 9 o'clock here, and Joe's up at like 3 in the morning. He has to work the next day, and I'm like, dude, are you crazy?
What I'm using my youthfulness, as much as I can.
For now. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we have 4 news articles for you today. We're going to get started with a favorite of Joe's, Helldivers 2. This is the game that just seems to keep on giving. I am not an online multiplayer type of guy. I'm not a live service type of guy. But this game is literally what I would... If the game has to be live service, this is the dream live service game to me, because this game feels like a game that was designed from the ground up to be the passion project of these developers, to be designed to be the game they want it to be, just to be this game, right? Like, it wasn't like somebody said, hey... we need a live service game. Make sure your next game is a live service game. It was like, no, this is the game that they had envisioned. This is the game they wanted to do. And you can see why, as I get into this article, just one of many reasons why this game is so awesome is because this is the game they wanted to make. This was, it wasn't something designed to be live service. It was something that was designed out of passion that happened to be live service. So get into the article. This is from GameSpot.com. Oh no, Helldivers 2 has flying bugs to deal with now. And I like their subtitle because of everyone makes fun of the Rise of Skywalker meme. They fly now? Yeah. They fly now. Yeah. Helldivers 2 players have a new threat to watch out for following this week's patch, as a new breed of Terminid, is that how you say it? Terminid enemies have been introduced to the game. While the Terminid ground forces live up to their name and terrain, these new bugs are an airborne menace that have begun appearing in the game. Are they even real? Helldivers 2 director Johan Pilestedt took to Twitter to rubbish these claims, rejecting the reality of flying bugs and substituting his own Ministry of Truth-approved spin on the claims. I've heard rumors of flying bugs in Helldivers 2, Pilestedt wrote. I want to officially refute such preposterous claims. Everyone knows that bugs can't fly, and I'm not alone in thinking this. The Ministry of Truth agrees that this is propaganda from the bug sympathizers and want to brainwash good people. What makes the sudden arrival of these airborne assault units called Shriekers surprising is that Helldivers 2 developer Arrowhead left them out of the patch notes. While the lengthy list of tweaks and fixes mention these things like making chargers significantly more susceptible to explosive trauma to the face, the stealthy arrival of Shriekers made for a fun and horrifying surprise. As noted by Windows Central, Shriekers will only appear in missions where they have their own layers, so you won't need to constantly keep an eye on the sky. So for those of you that don't know, Helldivers 2 is a online-only game. You can play it by yourself, but you have to be online. It's not really designed particularly to play by yourself for the best experience. There is a game master of sorts, like you might picture in a D&D, where there is a consistent person at the studio who is kind of dictating things that is going on in Helldivers 2. And what it's doing is it's making for really fun live service events. Like, I feel like I don't know where we missed the boat, but there was a time when things would happen in an online game that would be like special events, and it would be the developer using their game to make something special happen because of the type of game it was. And then somewhere along the lines, we got confused and we decided to make stuff so that battle passes could be sold, or so that certain things could be sold, microtransactions, and we lost it. One of the things I think of, this is probably kind of a deep cut, is I remember back when Guild Wars 2 came out, an MMO, a free-to-play MMO. You had to buy it for $60, but it was free-to-play.
Yeah, one-time purchase.
I bought it day one in 2012 because I liked the original Guild Wars. And this was a new concept at the time. They had this idea in Guild Wars 2 that random events would spawn within the open world where like it would like kind of ping everyone in the open world like, hey, there's a thing going on down here by the cliffs. Everyone get together to take these guys out. And I remember what happened is, because I played the beta even too, it was like, I would run there, other people would run there, and we'd all team up together to take out this stuff. And it was so neat. It was so cool. And I know a lot of games have done that now, but it was kind of a new concept then. So, but basically, that is to say, in Helldivers 2, there's a kind of a narrative, a meta narrative of like, oh, we're fighting for democracy, but then there's like, we're sending you to your death, and it's this really cool thing. And like I said, this guy from the studio on Twitter is pretending like he had no idea that these bugs are in the game because it makes it seem real, but obviously they were put there on purpose. So these bugs are just kind of, people have been playing Helldivers 2 and having a really hard time trying to, push back and what's the name of it? It's Super Earth, right? It save Super Earth and everything like that. But now suddenly you're just playing the game and wow, suddenly these creatures can fly. You had no idea that wasn't in the patch notes. I think it's such a unique, cool idea. I think this is the game that keeps on giving. This is the game live service game that I want to see succeed like crazy, because this game is good because it's online, because it's designed around consistent updates, not because it's here to make money. But I'll pass over to Joe, who's actually played the game, owns the game, plays it a lot, big fan. Yeah. Joe, tell us about just your experience with Helldivers 2 and what you think of this update.
Yeah, Helldivers 2 is a phenomenal experience, dude. It's so tight. Like, it has its bugs. It had its problems, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so good, dude. Like, the charisma is off the charts. The style is phenomenal. The gunplay and even though you're dropping into the same kind of planets with the same kind of biomes over and over again, like predetermined biomes depending on what planet you go on, the RNG of it always feels fresh somehow. Like there's something really like special in that source, and it just feels so good like playing it. And this is not the first time they've done this, like in terms of adding content in. I mean, this is the stealthiest they've been, but they did the mechs recently, right?
Yep.
And that was actually a thing that was done once we liberated a planet.
Yeah, it was like a meta narrative again.
Yeah.
Like you need to go. The mechs were ready to be played in the game, but instead they were like, you have to do this thing as a community to get them.
Yeah, and there's like vehicles and stuff that people have been like starting to find in certain missions and certain scenarios and stuff. And I think that's probably going to be like something you can call in later and unlock, like they have done with the mechs. But the flying bugs are cool. I mean, this is the thing, right? Like on paper, or even in execution, this isn't anything necessarily special, right? They're just adding small little tidbits of content. And if you compare this to something like Fortnite, it's not something crazy, right? Because the amount of content that those guys drop over there, because of this studio size and the amount of budget they have, they just keep dropping. Like, there's always a content update for Fortnite, but it's the way they put this out. Like, they have a very strong brand identity with Helldivers, and they are utilizing it to 150% efficiency capacity. Like, and you can tell when you're playing it, you feel like you're a part of this big war that's going on.
Feels like it's living and breathing. I mean, I feel like any live service game could take examples from this, could learn from this, because like an instance, another game, that Suicide Squad came out around the same time. It's a live service game. Obviously, it's one that we're not big fans of, and seemingly not a lot of people are big fans of. But like, imagine if you just one day you logged on to Suicide Squad and suddenly the Red Hood was appearing in people's matches and like fighting them randomly. That would be like a holy shit, like this can only be done with live service, where I play this game I'm used to playing, but suddenly Red Hood's there and no one told me. That's what they're doing here. It's not just here, do repetitive stuff and we'll try to sell you stuff in the stores.
Yeah, it's almost like this is kind of what, when Sea of Thieves first came out, they was always talking about emergent gameplay and stuff. Like, this is kind of the fruits of that like principal game design that is now coming to sort of fruition in many ways, like in a more substantial sense. Via the developer's hand, but they allow us to kind of go out on our whim and find things, find the things that.
And they're so smart with their marketing, right? Because like I just, even at work and just online and everywhere, I just hear people like, for democracy, we got to take out the bugs and all this stuff, and it's like, everyone knows it's made up. Everyone knows this is just a developer trying to ramp up their audience to get higher numbers and make more money. But like, they're doing it in such a fun way that it helps people to role play and be like, I got to get back to Helldivers and save.
We need reinforcements.
Yeah, it's so cool, dude.
It's
I'm so happy for the success of this game.
Yeah. Onwards and upwards for him, hopefully.
Yeah. Moving on to our next article. So I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like many of you are. I know Joe will be working his way towards it this year, but it's no secret that there's a big, famous card game that's been developed for Rebirth, much like Gwent in Witcher 3, where like in Witcher 3, people played Witcher 3 like, wow, this is a great game, but there's low-key an entire second game within Witcher 3 called Gwent. And that became this huge popular card game within Witcher 3 to the point where eventually the studio went on to create a standalone Gwent game that you could buy, and it was just Gwent. Well, the game in question here in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is Queen's Blood, which is which I'll read in the article to describe what it is, but it's so popular and people are having so much fun, and it feels so much like a game, a full game within a game. There's now conversations of, will we expand on this? And I think what's probably going to happen is that in time we're going to get a standalone Queen's Blood, because honestly, if I could pull out my phone and just had an app to play Queen's Blood on it, I would be playing that shit all the time. Yeah. I'm not really a microtransaction live service kind of guy, but like if you said I could buy a card for $1 and I'm already playing all the time, I think there's some real money on the table there. But let me get into the article. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director Naoki Hamaguchi has said that further expansions of the card game Queen's Blood are a possibility. We haven't decided anything in terms of future development for Queen's Blood, Hamaguchi said as part of the interview. So far, the media who played it have provided very positive feedback on it, so we want to consider further expansions as a possibility. In Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Queen's Blood is a card game where players place cards in 3 different lanes on a physical board. Each card has a number associated with it. Adding these numbers together gives the player their score. The goal is to have the highest lane score in 2 out of the 3 lanes. Many cards also have special effects, which can impact the score of the cards or the board itself. So for me, and this is like me with a lot of things in life, when I started playing this game, they gave me the instructions on how to play Queen's Blood. I read it. Sure. I didn't really get it. I just decided to jump in, lost a bunch of times, and then it sunk in. And now I know how to play it. It's so much fun. You get to build your deck. The decks are cool little cards with illustrations of like enemies and monsters and stuff, and with different numbers and stuff. So you get to build your deck, collect cards, beat other players for their cards, and then the game itself is just super fun to play. It's got great music. It's catchy. It's something I can't put down. It's the kind of thing where if there's new opportunities to play Queen's Blood with people in Rebirth, I put everything aside and go do all that. I do all my Queen's Blood game, and then I keep playing the story, and then it's like, I think it'll pop up, it'll be like, there's new people waiting to play Queen's Blood. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing that immediately. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. Joe, where are you on? Obviously, you're not going to play Rebirth for a while because you just beat Remake and you want to go into the original Final Fantasy VII and stuff like that. But what is it like for you playing mini games inside of other games? Is it something you really enjoy, you're pulled into? Is it something that you're like, oh, I wish there was less of this so I could focus on the main game? And what do you think about, do you think we're going to get Queen's Blood as some kind of extended game somewhere else? Over to you.
Yeah, I'm normally a sucker for all side content, whether it's narrative dependent or not. Like even in Final Fantasy VII Remake, where the side quests or the errands or whatever are kind of like not as narratively driven. They're kind of more collectathon-y, go here, kill this, come back. I still did them all, as much, all of them technically on that sort of tab list that you have. I really enjoy it. I'm 100%er. I do platinum trophies on a regular, if I really love the game and it seems fair. Queens, like, mini games in open worlds for me are like, not necessarily guilty pleasures because I don't feel guilty about it, but like, I'm like, I want a slice of that cake. I want the whole cake. Yeah. Give me. I don't, you know what I'm saying? So like, I mean, Gwen, I loved Gwen. This is obviously the straight comparison here. And seemingly clearly the inspiration with the 3-lane style, but dude, I love that game. I went and played the mini game, and then I went and played the standalone Gwen online and against the bots on that version. This looks dope. I mean, I've been playing Fort Condor in the intermission DLC for Remake, and that shit's like real fucking good. Like,
I think so too. And here's the crazy thing, Joe. There is like 24 mini games in 7, and most of them are that good.
So here's the thing, right? Do you think they could like have a whole like franchisation of all these mini games?
Well, this isn't my idea, but back when I was watching Kind of Funny and they did a review, they said they could just literally release a Final Fantasy party like Mario Party, and it would just be these games. And wow, that's the truth, dude. It's there. It's amazing. And I think that's one of the things that's so impressive about Final Fantasy VII any of the Final Fantasy VII games is they're so generous with the content. There's so much to do. It's not like for instance, I'm coming and it's a comparison I've seen a lot of people starting to make, and it's for good reason. Final Fantasy 16 just came out, 8 months ago. So we just played a recent big budget Final Fantasy, and that game has no mini games. It is basically combat and talking to NPCs for quests and the tons of cutscenes, and that is the whole game. And they're like the combat and the design and the production values of Final Fantasy 16 are so good. I loved it so much. But over the course of my 75 hours, I did the same thing over and over again. And when you play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or really any of the Final Fantasy VIIs, there's ways for you to go and mix up what you're doing and kill the monotony. It's not just straight combat. It's not just straight this. And what makes Final Fantasy VII Rebirth so special is that all of it is operating on such a high level. So if I go do combat, the combat is amazing. If I go do quests, the quests are awesome. If I go do minigames, the minigames are amazing. If I do exploration, the exploration is amazing. So it's just a really great game, and Queen's Blood is a standout. It's definitely my favorite minigame of the entire package, and like I said, bring Queen's Blood so I can play it on my iPhone.
Yeah,
and
get it on there.
I'm going to lose so much time to it. I mean, just copy paste it. I know it's not that simple in game dev, but like you don't need to add anything new. Don't make new graphics. Just take what you did there and put it on the phone.
Yeah, very much. I mean, like Gwent rebalanced stuff and changed a few mechanics, but you could probably just make it. I mean, they will no doubt want to monetize it and make it multiplayer and a live service mobile title or whatever. But like, get it on there, you know. Like
I'm telling you right now, Joe. Like I am so against I'm against microtransactions in two different ways. There's the generalized way I'm against microtransactions, which is I prefer it to be not used in a scummy way. Like I think that's wrong. No matter who I think objectively, scummy, predatory microtransactions are bad. I know there'll be people out there who would argue with me, which is weird because I feel like that's just an objective truth. And then there's the more subjective, more personal side of it where it's like, I hate them altogether. Like, even if they're done well, I hate them. Like Helldivers, I commend that game. I think it's great. I think it deserves all the success. It deserves to be able to sell things in it. Still hate that you can buy stuff there. That's a very personal, in my feels type thing.
I resonate with that.
But I'm telling you right now, Joe, if Queen's Blood comes to mobile and I'm building decks and stuff, and they can a couple dollars, I can buy a card to build up my deck, I'll do it. I will. I think I'll spend money. So they should do this. Just I'm telling you guys, like Marvel Snap and Gwent and all Hearthstone, get in on this. Come on.
So here's the question: last thing on this? Did you play much of Gwent when you played The Witcher 3?
No, I really didn't. Give it
you're
much
not really because like me, I'm all side quest and I'm everything, right?
I'm skip them all.
Are known for not being side content guy.
Usually skip it. Yeah.
So the fact that you're doing these mini games,
they're just that
speaks
good.
Volumes.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, like I've tried Gwent multiple times and it didn't catch on for me, but I don't think that was Gwent's fault. I think it was like, oh, I'm only going to give this a few minutes.
Sure.
Whereas like I gave more time to Queen's Blood, so I really should revisit Gwent. And I've always agreed that it's spectacular. I just never really experienced it for myself. But yeah, no, dude, there's so much content here, and I'm loving it so much. I'm doing way more side content than I ever usually do.
Yeah, awesome.
Bring Queen's Blood to other places. That would be so awesome. Expand upon that. That'd be great.
Hi there. Thank you so much for sticking with us up until this point in the episode, whether via audio or video. We greatly appreciate it. Now, if you're new here, make sure you join the Sacred Icon Discord. We'd love to have you there, talk all things pop culture, or just talk about general life stuff. Make sure you join. We're always listening. We're always open to that stuff. And I'd also be remiss to not mention the Sacred Icon podcast. That's obviously available on Spotify, Apple, Google, etc., etc. That is hosted by Brian and Josh. They have an amazing chemistry that is irreplaceable, and it can never be emulated. They talk all things from movies, to video games. It's a great time. And definitely go check that out. All those links for the Discord and the Spotify's and everything are down below, / on screen now if you're watching. But anyways, back to the episode.
Moving on to the next article. Sabre Interactive has removed references to Embracer Group from its website, suggesting reports of a sale are accurate. So to give some context to this before I read on, Sabre Interactive what I primarily know them for, it's probably not their primary what they're primarily known for. But what I know them for is they did the anniversaries for Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2. So if any of you out there really enjoyed the graphics of Halo Anniversary or Halo 2 Anniversary and the work that was done there, that was these guys. Do you know them for anything else particular, Joe? Sabre Interactive?
I mean, they're namely a publisher, right? And then the studios under them, like Focus Home Interactive, are the ones that kind of do the development work.
Yeah, I believe so. They've done many other things, but yeah.
No, I don't know them like from much.
They're the ones that were supposed to be behind the KOTOR remake. So
yeah,
but I would say generally I have a very good opinion of them. Everything I've seen them do, things I'm forgetting right now, all been quite good. But they were snatched up by Embracer Group a while ago. And for those of you that don't know, long story short, basically a bunch of rich people got together, started this company called Embracer Group, and they had so much money they went around buying all the studios and all the IP. Like seemingly overnight, willy-nilly, just buying up like straight up Borderlands, straight up Lord of the Rings IP, straight up Sabre Interactive, just buying all this, Saints Row and their developer, just gobs of money, just buying it up without any real plan at all, until they had all this under their umbrella, and they had no plan or no management skills to make it work out, and they just suddenly started hemorrhaging money. And even though they poured tons of money into this and seemingly have tons of money, they started freaking out and just selling stuff off and closing stuff down and doing tax write-offs. So the long story short is Embracer Group is bad. It's literally terrible for this industry. It's resulted in lots of lost IP, lots of lost jobs, projects, and the fact that Sabre Interactive, what this article is saying, as I'm going to read forward here, is that they've bought their way out. They're buying their way out so they can be independent again and not fail underneath Embracer. So late last month, a Bloomberg report citing a source familiar with the transaction said the studio was being sold to a group of private investors in a deal worth up to $500 million. At the time, the Sabre website featured the studio logo above the words "an Embracer Group company." The site's bio also read, Sabre Interactive is a US-based developer and publisher of video games consisting of over 20 studios and more than 2,500 employees worldwide. We are one of the key operative business units of Embracer Group. However, in early March, the site changed to remove references to Embracer Group with the "an Embracer Group company" message removed from underneath the logo. The bio has also been hastily edited and now reads, Sabre Interactive is a US-based developer and publisher of video games consisting of over 20 studios and more than 2,500 employees worldwide. So there's no confirmation as of the recording of this episode that Sabre Interactive has successfully been bought their way out of Embracer, but with the changes here and the rumors, seems pretty evident that they have, and I think this is awesome. This gives them a chance to go on and hopefully make KOTOR remake and some other projects and just continue to thrive and make great games. So, yeah. Any other thoughts on that, Joe?
No, I mean, you put it perfectly at the start before you started reading that article. It's an absolute sham. It's an absolute shame. It's a representation of kind of everything that's wrong with the business side of the industry right now, and it sucks that like studios and employees like basically bear the brunt of all that bad money deal basically. And it's crazy that like Embracer was originally THQ Nordic before they like joined with another company, and like this is what they've become because they were quite quaint of a publisher back in the day. They were always kind of like the good side of the AA sort of third party scene in many ways. But now they've closed things like Free Radical, and they've closed things like Volition, after failed games and seemingly like sort of development hell, and they quietly cancel like dozens of
Time Splitters
titles. It just keeps going. They constantly lay off people alongside Microsoft and stuff with like no we were talking about on the last episode just yesterday that at least with the closure of certain studios you hear about the new guard coming in. There's none of that with Embracer. It's just constant. We might buy studios, but then what's the future of them? And basically, like, not to belabor your point, but it's a shame, it's a shame that this is happening. I'm happy. I'm so happy that Sabre Interactive are getting out there. They deserve so much better, and the studios within Sabre Interactive deserve so much better. I'm excited for the Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 game that's coming out. at the end of this year, I think, sometime this year, supposedly.
I think it is fall. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for them to just get out. We'll support you. Like, do it. Like, I'll buy your games day one if it means you need money. Like, even if I'm gonna play the game in 2 months' time, I'm buying that shit day one just to support you. But yeah, get out of there. And
yeah, I mean, look at it this way, guys. Essentially, I know I seriously doubt it was their intention, but basically, in retrospect, what Embracer Group has done is they've taken this wide arm. They've swept up all this great talent, studios, IP, games, and then they've started throwing them in the toilet and flushing it because
of a bad deal.
It isn't as simple as, like, obviously they paid for these studios fairly, and they acquired them and had intentions to make games, but since they're shuttering them and most of them aren't getting sold off, most of them are just going to get shuttered and laid off and closed. It's basically just it's not like they had the company make a bad game and now they're going to make a good game. They're going to try to win over their credibility again. No, they're gone for good. They're just flushed down the toilet. This was just a large, huge net negative for the entire industry. So yeah, it's unfortunate, and I'm really glad to see them get out of there. My beloved Lord of the Rings IP is trapped with Embracer Group. They own the rights to make the games. So there's no chance.
I didn't even know that, dude. That's crazy.
There's really no chance to get in. And they even said, this is paraphrasing because I don't have the quote in front of me, but one of their leaders basically said they want to milk Lord of the Rings for all it's worth because that's something they can rely on. Wow. I think they also own the movie. Like, I don't know how it works, but like future movie rights, they own that as well. So it's bad, dude. It's unfortunate. Moving on to our final topic, I just thought this was really cool to shout out. So Capcom has been on a complete tear for years now, just releasing great content. Resident Evil remakes. What was it? Street Fighter. That's them, right? Was that them? Street Fighter, a bunch of stuff, and we're about to see Dragon's Dogma 2
next weekend, baby.
Drop pretty soon, and I'm sure the impressions have already been good, but reviews will be out. I'm hoping. It seems like Dragon's Dogma 2 could be a big Game of the Year contender.
Yeah.
But they're just on a tear, and they announced today that Resident Evil 4 Remake has sold over 7 million copies. And they say, I guess there's only one thing to say at a time like this. Thank you. Which is, referencing the merchant from Resident Evil 4. But yeah, I just thought this was awesome to shout out. Over 7 million copies for Resident Evil 4 Remake. I played that last year. Joe, I know you're looking forward to playing it. Honestly, it was one of the best games that came out last year. I was blown away. It's one of the best remakes I've ever played. It's so good. Definitely on a bias level, a 10 out of 10. I don't know what I'd have to think about it objectively more, but it's, for me personally, just 10 out of 10 subjectively. So good. Everything, the characterizations, the gameplay. Holy shit, it was good, dude. Like, if you ask me if it's better, which one's better, this or the original, I don't know.
The original Resident Evil?
Resident Evil 4. Original Resident Evil 4.
Sorry, I was thinking like Resident Evil 2 remake, because that was like kind of the first new era.
This remake is different enough from the original Resident Evil 4 that I think you do need both. You need to play both and appreciate both.
Sure.
But so I don't know which one's better though. It's just like this one's so good, dude. So good. So I can't wait for you to play it.
Every time I see gameplay of it, I'm like, I want to play this because it looks so smooth with the way you can move and stuff, and like chain your close combat with your knife and the guns and stuff. Like that stuff like feels like I could really dive deep into some single player skill ceiling kind of shit. Yeah, dude, like, it looks good.
The way I feel about this game now, it's like bottom of my top 50 list as of now. But like this game has like favorite game of all time material written all over it. It's that good. It's just that polished. And like for instance, dude, the one big criticism you could have said of this game was that it cut out a few story things from the original.
Well, they put that back in, right?
But they put it back in, reframed as Ada's expansion, which was so genius because in the original Resident Evil 4 there was an Ada expansion. But Ada's expansion was just her going through the same environments as Leon. Sure. Now it's like she has specific story content to her that it's using the stuff that was left out of the main game. So good. Just phenomenal to hear this. I'm really glad that Capcom's popping off, and I'm really glad that Resident Evil 4 sold well. So Joe, final thoughts from you on Capcom's tear and this game selling. So what do you think?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm happy for him as always. Like when you get good games like this that are, from good studios with clear and evident passion for, even if it's a remake or a completely brand new game, like I'm all for it. And you know what? This is one of those weird things where where is this going from here? Because like 5 and 6, like fundamentally are games that like I feel like for a remake you potentially have to completely redesign it, especially 6 from the ground up, because a lot of people had issues with the way those games were as they went more action. But I want like I'm a 5 is a guilty pleasure for me. I love that game. Like there's something about that like co-op like just quirkiness that game has, and I'd love to see a remake of that game. Like I'd probably buy that day one.
It's confusing though, Joe, because what direction should they take? They really have two options. It's either remake it as faithfully to the original Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 as possible, or remake them in a vein more like Resident Evil 4 or 2 that are consistently critically more appreciated.
So I think 5 and 6 are two different answers from me there. 5, faithful as hell. Like, or like go not crazy with the action.
Game.
Yeah, but like you could like keep that going, you know, and I feel like people would like it. Add some more mechanics, make it like more like solid and smooth, like Resident Evil 4's remake is to the OG. And then the 6th one, like, to be honest, I don't care about that game, so like just you can throw that in the bin.
Yeah, right. Why waste the time? If you're gonna remake it, you might as well just make a whole new game called Resident Evil 6.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, this is great news. 7 million copies. Hopefully, you know, it gets more. I think you're looking at 10 to 15 by the end of its like cycle, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's only been on like, I know this is like kind of might sound silly, but it's only been on iPhone for a few months because it's now an iPhone.
That sounds so weird.
It's a full retail like on your device, not streaming, full on your iPhone, $60 purchase.
That's so weird.
Yeah, and it's on the PS4, which I think is so interesting, but it's not on Xbox One. Did you know that, Joe? So it's like PS4 got a copy, but Xbox One, they're like, yeah, no one's playing that, so they didn't put a copy out there, which is crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, it's on next gen and to some extent previous gen. I think if Switch 2, when Switch 2 comes out, I think we're going to get a Resident Evil 4 remake.
And it has the VR stuff, right? Like
VR stuff, like, yeah, it's just, they're popping off like crazy, dude. This game's amazing, but great story to end on. I thought we had some fun stories today, Joe. What was the standout story for you? Helldivers, probably?
I mean, come on, Helldivers, but I do... The Sabre Interactive stuff is big for me. You know, I'm happy for him. That's so important. So yeah, Helldivers and Sabre, big news.
Yeah, I think for me, it's probably Helldivers, just from how cool it is, just as an outsider looking in, just how neat that is. Yeah. Before I get out of here, Joe, I have one would you rather question for you. I'll have you answer it, and then we'll leave it to the audience to answer it as well in the comments or leave it an email or voicemail, whatever. Would you rather have, I might mispronounce his name. Well, I'll just go with his last name because I can pronounce it. Miyazaki from Souls fame.
Hidetaka Miyazaki.
Yeah, make the next Metal Gear Solid game. Or have Kojima make the next Dark Souls game.
That's really difficult. That's a good one, dude. Oh my god. Okay, right. Not to go on too long, but like, the only reason I say Hidetaka Miyazaki is because like I feel like he's done that stealth stuff more than Kojima has done, like the action side of the Souls and stuff. He's not really RPG centric. Kojima is more action adventure. So I'm going with Hidetaka Miyazaki because at least he's got that background in like that Sekiro stuff, you know.
So you want a FromSoft Metal Gear Solid?
I think that would be sick, dude. Yeah, I would trust that more than with Konami. Like,
yeah. I really should have posed this question as its own episode because this could be a whole 30-minute episode, just that question.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. But all right, guys, that's what I'll leave you with. Thank you so much for joining us for another Sacred Games Daily. And as always, keep it sacred daily.
Peace.